followed by the pound or hash sign.
Oh, yeah, probably didn't click at the beginning, get your rubber band out.
To enable audio control, please enter your audio PIN followed by the pound or hash sign. If you do not have a PIN, just press pound or hash. This conference will now be recorded.
All right, we're recording everybody, so is that something you want to do out on the worldwide? Stephen, is that you? Is that right? I mean, Martin? That's who? Martin, okay. Hey, Martin, are you viewing or just listening? He's not listening. He did, I'm not telling.
Is he there?
Someone was there. Melanie says he's on.
He is, he's there.
You haven't, updated his line?
Yeah, he's unmuted.
Okay.
I think he's getting set up for me up here.
We've been doing all of our, well, there's an exception to that. One or something, but he is really bad. He's, you think it's expensive?
That's our line. Line just because somebody's got a question. Lean on you. Because that's one from College Station. No. But I'm everything we've been through.
No members. Hey, man.
Are they probably new?
Probably not.
She called me on Friday and said she was working on it. Well, she told me she wasn't.
Hey, Mark. Hi, Steve. Yes, I can hear both of you well. Can y'all see us? That's probably a good thing though, Mark. Hey, Stephen, are you viewing?
No, I'm not. I don't have enough screens for all that.
Okay. Good. Very good. Well, I'll go ahead and tell y'all who is already here. We've got another minute or so before we start. Jacob is here, Chris is here, Tina's here, Tammy Quaid, Superintendent Warren, the sheriff is here, Treasurer's here, Joe's here, Bud, Mike, Jill, Elise, Jackie, and then the Calhoun Media Group is here. We have a full complement in the fire.
That's right.
The city. All right, well, folks, it's 11 o'clock. Let's go ahead and call this meeting of the Powell County Commissioners Court to order.
Yeah, the phone just went off.
Phone just went off.
It was disconnected.
You want me to do it? We're sorry, due to network difficulties, your call cannot be. Please enter your access code followed by the pound or hash sign.
That's what we want to hear.
Yes.
523129.
The access code you entered is invalid. You entered 94135231229. Please re-enter. enter your access code followed by the pound or hash sign.
Okay, get ready. I'm gonna try to do this right.
To enable audio controls, please enter your audio PIN. This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, we're live again. Are y'all with us?
Oh, yes, you let us back in. Yeah.
You so lucky. Martin, are you there too?
I can hear you, I can't see you.
Okay, that's still a good thing though, Martin. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and call this meeting of the Tyler County Commissioners Court to order. Let the record reflect that not only a quorum is present, but the full complement of the court is present. And this meeting has been duly called in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. And it's a practice of this court to begin its meeting with a invocation followed by a pledge of allegiance. Today it will be to the Texas flag. We do give this disclaimer should there be anyone present who is not comfortable or would prefer not to participate in the invocation. Please feel welcome to mute your phone at this moment. Give us a minute to go through our practice and then rejoin us, or anyone present in the room, feel welcome to step out. With that being said, I believe I'm responsible for the invocation this morning, and then we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance to the Texas flag. Let's pray. Father, would you have mercy upon us all today? And it's in the name of your Son, Jesus, I pray. Amen. All right. Texas flag. Salute, honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. Please be seated. Madam Clerk, in compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, there are comments that would be received by the court at this time. Do you have anybody who has signed up?
I do not, Judge.
Okay. With that being said, we'll move forward into our agenda. And if you have a copy and would like to follow along with us, do we have any minutes that you would like for us to take action on?
I tried to finish them this morning, but just couldn't.
No problem.
I'll be ready for the next.
Okay. And I'm not aware of any budget amendments, Jackie, or we do? Okay. Now that's going to move us to the accounts payable. Did you have any bills this month to come in?
A little bit.
Just a little bit? Okay. Should we pay them?
Yes, we should.
Okay. So there's a recommendation to pay the bills from the auditor.
I'll make a motion to pay it.
Thank you.
A second.
There's a motion with Commissioner Marshall, second by Commissioner Hudson, to pay the bills. Any objection? All in favor, aye. It's unanimous. We're going to pay the bills. Thank you, gentlemen. We have an informational report offered to the court today. And Tina, do you have just a copy that you'd like to present to the court at this time? We got kind of a full agenda.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, very good. So we will move past that and go to item D, which is our district clerk's monthly report. You may recall I don't think we had it last agenda, which we normally do. So we were to receive the district clerk's report into the record. Is there a motion to receive her report?
So moved.
Thank you, Mike.
Second.
Thank you, Stephen. There is a motion and second to receive the district clerk's monthly report. With that being said, all in favor, aye? Any opposed? Okay, and it's unanimous. The clerk's report is received into the record. Item F is the renewal of the service level agreement between Tyler County and Texas A&M Agrilife Extension Office for provision of technology services and support. Well, this has been an annual project, right, Jacob?
Yes, sir.
That Agrilife has asked for the court to acknowledge the responsibility of the county to provide a certain level of security and services, and it has come up for renewal. Jacob, is there anything that you would want to share with the court this morning regarding this particular item?
No, sir. It is, I will tell you, and Jill knows more than I do about it, they did change the language of the report. It's now a service level agreement, whereas in the past it was a memorandum of understanding. Is that right, Jill? But most of the language remains the same, that the county will be responsible for the physical technology. Y'all bought the computer and paid for the internet, is what it amounts to.
Very good. I'll go ahead and put that in the form of a motion for renewal of that service agreement with Agrilife for this coming year. Thank you, Martin. There's a motion with second. Are there any additional comments or questions for either Jacob or Jill or me or whomever? If none, all in favor, aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, and it's unanimous, and thank you, gentlemen. Item G is the acceptance of the statewide automated victim notification service grant, and it will be for 2021. Jackie, you have got some knowledge about this through the years, and it's just a regular Savins grant. Any concerns from your perspective? Okay, I'll put that in the form of a motion, gentlemen, for the acceptance of the Savins grant for 2021. And wait a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mike. Comments or questions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, and it is unanimous. Thank you. Item H is the suspending of City of Woodville payments for dispatch and jail until further notice. Commissioner Stirk, you have that item for the court?
Yes, sir. It's, what we're trying to do is, get a formula that's fair to all the entities that are using this, using the dispatch and jail of the county. And, right now, we're not charging the same, for the entities that are using it. And I make a motion that we suspend, the city of Woodville, which is the only entity paying this time, until we come up with a formula that, where we can charge everyone the same rate of service.
Great. There is a motion.
Second.
Okay, thank you for the second, Mike. Just by way of information, this has been something that we have become mindful of over time. And if someone was looking at this and said, well, are we not going to charge them? No, that's not what we're doing. We're just suspending. We're not eliminating. And Stephen, do you have kind of a feel for anything that the court may need to assist on that?
Yeah, well, yes, I've been in discussion with the city of Woodville and other counties and other cities also, getting information on what kind of formula they use. And most of it is a per capita, of the entities, and depending on what service those counties provide to them on their dispatch service, we just need to find something that's fair, that everyone's in agreement with. By law, we have to charge something for that service. It can be up to, as long as everyone agrees, it will be fine. So, but we are moving forward with this, and I don't think it'd be long before we'll have a formula that's fair to everyone.
Okay, very good.
Stephen, I have a question. Stephen, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Entities that do not have law enforcement, will they be required to pay? I mean, does the county have to service those entities if they do not have a police force or whatever?
That's correct, yes. Now, and there's some entities right now that when you call after hours for their city services, it refers to call the sheriff's office. So we're working on that too, where they get a private group or pay the county to do that. So, yes, the cities that don't have law enforcement, then that's the sheriff's officer's responsibility on the dispatching on that.
Any further questions? Are you ready? All in favor, aye? Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you, Stephen. And we'll await a follow-up report to the court. Item I is the joint election agreement, and Denise brings that to the court. She's got a very active election year this year, don't you?
Yes, sir. Actually, the governor has extended early voting to 3 weeks instead of 2 weeks. So it will start, I believe, October 13th. So we have an extra week. We already have over 600 applications for people to vote by mail. Okay, so we have 5 other entities besides the county that's having an election. And so this is for y'all to approve joint election agreements with them. That way, all the entities that's having an election shares the cost, which saves the county a lot of money, it saves the cities and schools money. And so these are the cities and schools that will be having an election on November the 3rd, as well as the county, and that will be the city of Ivanhoe, the city of Woodville, Comus Mill ISD, Spurger ISD, and Woodville ISD. And so if y'all know of anyone that would like to work, we're looking desperately for workers, because I believe we're gonna need to add some election clerks this year.
Very good.
Motion to approve.
Thanks, Mike.
Second.
There is a motion with a second. Comments or questions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you, Donese. All right, you now have the next item as well, and that's in regard to the appointment of election judges and alternates.
Yes, sir, this is the year that we reappoint election judges and alternates for a 2-year term. We are gonna have some vacancies. So there was some confusion here. I thought Kimberly had sent the list to Jill. I think she sent it to me, and I was supposed to send it to Jill. I was on, took a couple days of vacation, so.
See what happens if office just falls apart.
So, but they're kind of used to me working with them, so, but anyway, we do have some vacancies. But what I really wanted to say, if y'all would approve the list that we do have, the only new person, I believe, that we have is in voting precinct 1. Debbie Hennigan has been the election judge, but Dolores Wigley has been the alternate, and she found a replacement, which is Annette Fairclough. So all the rest that's on the list is the same, except there are some that, you know, just I'd like to retire for a while.
And is it Debbie that's retiring or?
It's Dolores.
Okay.
And so I have presented Annette Fairclough, which has been working with Dolores. It's her replacement. Where we need someone is in the Doucette area. We need a Republican judge there. Ms. Glenda is the Democrat judge, and she is remaining. In Wildwood, we now need a Democrat judge. And the Bethany area, we need a Democrat judge. Go down to in precinct 14, we may be needing both. Precinct 17, we need a Democrat judge. Precinct 18, Ms. Margaret Hope has been a judge for a long time, and she's decided that she needs to give it up. And so we're gonna need a Democrat judge in box 18, which is the fire station area. Also, Mike, I still have Sue and Leslie Marshall as judge and alternate judge.
Go ahead and find somebody probably to replace Leo, because my brother-in-law told me about
Right.
school.
And I present those to y'all because I need to get them notices out of their appointment.
Good, you've heard the report.
Of the ones that you're confirmed with, would you like the court to go ahead and appoint those at this time?
Yes, sir, because they have agreed, and we need to get their notices of appointments out. This is the month to do that.
Do you have a deadline that you have to have them confirmed through the court by?
No, sir, so this is the appointment time, and so as we find someone, I'll be presenting them to the court to fill the vacancy.
Perfect. Okay. So no special commissioners court meeting to try to meet any deadline?
No,
Okay.
it's just today,
Very good.
just today.
Is there a motion?
So, but
Thank you, Mike. Is there a second?
Second.
But
I think it's just,
Stephen, you gotta get a little bit quicker on that draw. Okay.
All right.
All right, so we have the motion with the second. You've heard the report from Denise. Any more comments or questions? All in favor, aye? Very good, it's unanimous. Madam Treasurer, you have the next item for the court. That's item K, and it's a change in indemnity coverage.
Yes, I presented back in workshop a little bit of information about our dental policy that we have. Currently, the county is with Delta Dental. They only allow, right now, nobody new. Any kind of employer that is over 100 employees. It's too big for them, so they don't allow any new participants in their plan. So we can't offer all of our employees dental insurance. So it doesn't cost the county anything, the county has to pay for that, but it's something I'd like to bring to the court to change that.
Right, so the request is coming before the court. Is there a motion? Thank you, Mike. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Stephen. Comments?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay.
It's been just about a year since we changed to Delta.
I don't know, Martin, that's before my time, Jackie.
That's correct.
Well, the problem I see is some of our employees have been paying into Delta, and you have to pay in for a year before you
No, sir,
get some of the services.
no, sir, you
like
don't.
Amazon, whatever. And changes, they're losing that year, now it's start all over again.
No,
It won't
No.
matter because they're not gonna let us renew, Martin.
well, in
I think there
Aflac,
was-
Okay, let me repeat, just give me just a second. Jackie says they're not gonna let us renew, and then, Leanne, what were you gonna add?
I was gonna add that Aflac has no waiting period,
Aflac has no waiting period, is what she said, Martin,
so they're not losing any money.
so they're not losing any money.
Okay.
He said, okay.
Okay. I did double check, I wanted to make sure that it was no problem.
Okay. I failed to mark.
So that, I did know, I have an employee that has a staff, and the general practice, they're actually, Delta 7 under them. I don't know if you knew that.
Okay. Any more comments?
If you're repeating of the, understand.
Um,
People want to.
I'm sorry, I was being distracted by my schoolmate over here to my left. Martin, would you please repeat what you said?
One of my employees has Aflac dental, and they're actually using Delta.
But can I add that I think that's probably they have a supplement policy, and the Aflac that I'm going with, or that the county is fixing to vote on, is an actual policy, not a supplement.
Did you hear that, Martin?
I heard that.
Lee, oh, you did hear that, okay. All right, everybody hear everything? Did you hear? Sheriff, you hearing everything okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Any more comments or questions? Are you ready for the vote? All in favor, aye? Okay. Sounds like it's unanimous, Madam Treasurer.
That's great, great, thank you.
Let's see, you got an item L too.
I do.
Commissioner Stirk, you have item L, and that's the CARES Act CRF. And Madam Treasurer is standing at the podium ready to speak. Do you want to speak to the introduction of this?
You just let her speak for right now.
Okay. For right now?
All right, I'm sure
So
you'll
are
add.
you reserving the
Yeah, for
right
right
to edit? Okay, Madam Treasurer, you have the floor.
Well, as you know, the commissioners set forth a committee to decide on, or recommend, make that clear, the committee understood that we were not deciding that money to be spent, that we were going to make a recommendation to the court as to how to divide the school funds up. To do that, I felt that it was necessary to kind of see what needs the county might have or might incur. It's kind of hard to do when we are dealing with a pandemic that we've never had to do before. There's not a hurricane path that we can follow to kind of figure out how to do this. So we did the best that we could. A lot of the expenses that are in the projected county side of that, obviously that's up to you guys to decide how to spend that money. That's not a committee recommendation. That's just a holding place for those funds that we might incur as a county. What we did decide and vote on was that of the $879,000 that the county has been awarded under the CRF funds, that $479,000 would be divided between the 5 school districts. We decided that we would divide the monies per student enrollment in each district. And we felt that that would probably be the fairest way to make sure that all county kids were taken care of all the way around. We basically, I think the plan that we've come up with, I know that the plan that we've come up with is that the schools, it's a reimbursement grant, so the schools will have to reimburse or submit their receipts for us to reimburse. And then I think the general consensus is that we will wait to sometime around December before we actually start dispersing those funds to make sure that we are good, that we are where we need to be, that nothing unexpected has come up with the pandemic to cause us to have to utilize more of those funds. The only exception to that is that the schools need to be allowed to list reserve budget amounts. Am I correct? Reserve budget amounts on for an additional grant that the state is, I think, giving them, and their deadline is October 1st. So what we need to do is give them a reservation letter, I guess. They understand that it's not a promise, that it is just that. But I think in order to get the most out of their funds from the state, they need to have that letter so that they can pursue that. So that's basically that in a nutshell. Any questions?
Okay. So is there a motion for the
And
recommendation
what
from the committee? Is that what we're looking to do?
Are we voting on spending this money here, or just looking at taking these recommendations to analyze?
Stephen, let me read the motion as it's been presented. It's the CARES Act CRF committee recommendations for the CRF funds. So it's the committee recommendation, and I think that's probably the report that you'd sent.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That the way we understood it, Stephen, was that the recommendation is not county monies or not to spend any money. It is how we recommend that the monies will be divided amongst the schools. It works out to be $127 and some change per student in each school district.
Okay. But if we take this, if we set this, or do we set in stone that amount of money
No, sir.
to them, or?
No, sir. There is no contract signed. They all understood at that meeting that this was not a promise, not a guarantee, and not obligated, that it could change and that things would come up. Could come up.
Okay. So, would it be, if we take this recommendation of how to distribute the money, not the amount of the money being distributed, just the how it will be funded, if there is any money distributed between the schools?
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The original amount is 800-some-thousand.
879,010.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so, and we've reduced it to how much for the school?
479,010 is how much the allowable or available disbursement among the school districts, or not only the district, but also St. Paul's is included in it.
We felt that it was necessary at some point to keep out some county money in case
Well, the county, originally the county didn't want to accept the CARES money.
I don't know
The
anything.
county is still responsible for that.
We did accept it, we have the 20% in our account. So therefore, I mean, I didn't do that. I don't know. I don't know anything about that. All I know is that we are now custodians of money from the CARES Act.
I can probably speak to that if anybody's interested. When Ken and I were working on this, initially, we couldn't see that the impact was significant. So as we began to monitor it and as conversations began to develop regarding what was allowable, then it seemed like that it was valuable to have at least the availability from the county for whatever impact or mitigation that there might be. And so that's when we thought we were acting in good standing, just to go ahead and put ourselves in the hunt, which you may recall, that was when we had, I'm not sure if it was the last meeting or the meeting before that, but we had the conversations and the input from the various school districts, and we just acted to go ahead and put ourselves in a position to participate. But it was non-binding because we've not spent any of the money. The allocation, I think it was like 179 or something like that,
179.
was already in a separate account,
Right.
but nothing had been expensed out of it. And that's when the committee began to be activated to try to figure out a formula, which looks like that's what we're looking at right now. It's just a formula of distribution.
But
Right, and we did accept the grant as part, I remember, we voted to accept it.
correct.
As part in
That is
CARES grant, so we are part of the grant now as an county.
Correct.
We did it only at the request of the school, because they wanted to have access to that money. That was my understanding. They had a special meeting because we were not going to participate. Is that correct?
That is correct, Martin. I participated in that conversation along with Ken when we were trying to understand what the impact of that would be. And TEA was having regular discussions with the school districts statewide. And whenever the governor gave the formula to the school, to the counties and the cities, then the distribution amount was to us equal to $55 per county resident or citizen or the person that's on the census roll. So that's how our allocation came down to us. So
Excluding the incorporated areas.
I'm sorry?
Excluding the incorporated areas.
Correct, Stephen, because the cities have equal access to a direct distribution, just like the counties do.
Correct.
But there were a couple school districts that did not fall into cities. And for them to be even eligible to participate or to even have an opportunity to have some of their mitigation offset, then it was going to have to be through the county. And so that's why we went ahead and just moved forward to at least make it available.
Yeah, I think we probably gonna need an interlocal agreement or memorandum of understanding or something with the other entities if we're starting to. If we do end up putting money out, grant money out to them, that there's gonna have to be some kind of agreement that goes back up the chain, I would think.
We did-
PM and then the federal government.
We did discuss that, Stephen, in the committee meeting, and they all understand that before we hand out the first dollar, that there is the interlocal agreement that they will have to sign.
Additional comments or questions? I would, go ahead, Mike.
I would just go make a motion that we disperse the money as the committee recommends by number of students.
Okay, so there's a motion
Second.
with a second. Okay, additional comments? I see where in your notes, Leanne, that there's a set aside for a employee and then put under the court and then to offset some of the workload. And I'll be glad to represent the court since I'm having to sign off on the documentation for that and be responsible for the oversight of that workload from that employee it pleases the court. Be glad to help out in that way. Okay,
One comment I'd like to make, Judge, I just don't want us to get tied in, if we're going to accept it, get tied into that dollar amount that's on that document that we're accepting or bringing in that we're voting on. I would, surely I understand the formula, but I don't know if we need to lock ourselves into any type of numbers that are on this breakdown of how money is spent, because there's some things on there like, county hazard pay that hazard pay on the federal level where this money comes from is totally different from what we hazard pay as. So I'm not sure that all of this, if we accept that, that's locking into any of this money spent like it is, that's my concern. Other than formula, I don't have a problem with formula.
Our charge was to decide or to recommend to the court the disbursement process. And that's basically what we did. The numbers that you see on the report are a starting point. They are somewhere to get it. Yeah, I mean, just we had to get something on there. I will say that the school districts understood that this was a floating amount, I guess, for lack of a better word, that we did discuss that. However, I will say that they will need a figure sooner rather than later. That grant expires for the 30th of September, is that correct?
We have a deadline for submission for an additional 25%, October 1. And what they're asking for us to do is have an amount that the county is agreeing to provide to us in this letter.
Stephen, are you able to hear what Dr. Boyette said?
No, I wasn't.
Okay. What she is saying is that they have to identify by October 1st the amount of allocation that is going to be available to specifically their school districts, probably all of them, isn't it, Dr. Boyd?
It is.
Okay. And so that was her comment.
May I say something?
Of course.
Stephen, I think I can answer what your question is. The committee recommended this, but it's like I told the school districts, by October 1, we should know what the needs of our county are and what we have spent. So it's very well likely that they could get more money than what we're saying right now, because we don't know how much the county's gonna spend. So this is just a tentative plan. The schools could get more,
Okay.
or they could get less. It depends on what our needs are first.
I feel like we're basically voting on the formula right now. Not necessarily the amount.
Judge, can I make a clarifying comment?
Certainly.
So just to kind of speak to what Dr. Boyette mentioned, the 25% she's talking about is an LEA match from TEA. So what it would enable, if, for example, the county approved to give Warren $100, TEA would match 25 of that. Is that correct, Dr. Boyette?
That's correct.
So that is some additional money that they'll have available if we can give them a number by by October 1st. So that's where that deadline comes in.
Jacob, just a clarification, LEA is
Local education agency.
Okay. And so the way that the formula is calculated, Stephen, per what Leanne had sent out, for example, like Dr. Boyd's presence here representing Warren, their allocation would be 167,092, of which the 25% match would be 41,773.
No, sir, no, I'm sorry.
That's not correct.
That is where the formula of the CRF funds in general. So in order to, it's broken out into 75-25. And so that's but that's CRF 25, not LEA, TBA.
Okay.
99. Yeah.
Very good.
That's okay.
Now, that's the public health and non-public health side.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, any further questions or comments for the good of the whole?
I have one, Judge.
Yes.
Okay, so I have the motion, from Commissioner Marshall to disperse the money as recommended by the committee. And then I heard something about maybe we're voting on the formula. So how do we need to add that to the motion? And also Jack said that this is to be a tentative.
So the recommendation is to pay per student, that is the formula. The recommendation is to pay per student, that is the formula.
That's what we're voting.
Instead of by district or by, any other
So
means,
the formula of 170.
the formula of whatever funds are available for the schools at the court's discretion.
That needs to be the motion. You need to hear that motion.
Okay, can you repeat that?
Recommendation from the CRF committee is that the available funds at the discretion of the Commissioners Court be divided per student in each school district.
Got it? Okay, Mike,
Okay?
would you be okay about adopting what she said?
Exactly what I was,
Okay,
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
What he meant.
Available funds be divided.
by student in each of the 5 school districts.
And including St. Paul's, right?
Including, yes, including St. Paul's, there are 26-year kids.
All right. Everybody know what the motion is?
We're good.
Ready to vote? All in favor?
Okay, all right.
What was that, Martin?
Okay, I remember that.
Okay, so it's unanimous and motion carries. Thank you all. Buck, you have the next item and that's the temporary COVID-related work person.
Yes.
Well,
Speak to that.
I was thinking that too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, who seconded the motion?
I
did
did.
it right. Okay, I'm sorry.
So all of this COVID stuff, this grant, all the monies that are coming in, all the different, and the relationship and the liaison between myself, my office, Jackie's office, the schools, and Jacob through Tcdrs. I feel like that we need this temporary part-time person to kind of help out with all the research, with all the receipts, all the, I mean, I listed all the things that they would actually be doing in the email that I sent to you. I just feel that it is necessary to have this extra person to kind of fill in the gap, especially this time of year when we're about to go in, or open enrollment, and we'll be really tied up in all of those kinds of things. So that is funds that will be or can be paid for out of the COVID CRF monies.
Okay. So what we are, let me read the motion. Let me read the item. Temporary, part-time help for COVID-related work, in parentheses, payroll research and reporting, close parentheses, under the court, but working with the treasurer/HR office. So that's the motion, or that's the item.
So basically, they would like work for, out of my office, is what I need. I need that person to work out of my office.
Okay. So, did you understand what she said? I'm sorry?
So moved.
Okay, so there is a motion,
I'll second.
okay, and there is a second. Comments or questions?
So is the court gonna hire this person and work under someone in the court, but with the HR and payroll, is that correct? Or COVID?
According to what Leanne sent out, she said, I'm asking for the position to be under the court if necessary, but housed out of the treasurer HR office. This support staff would work with the treasurer and auditor on the COVID-19 workload. So,
So the court would hire the person, it looks like to me, they would be out working under the appointment of the court, working with her.
and they would be assigned to support apparently the treasurer and the auditor in their need for all of the information? Yes?
Yes, I would like that saved if you, who I am working with in my office, please.
And you were saying you would sign off.
What I'm saying is, she says that, I'm asking for the position to be under the court if necessary, but housed out of the treasurer HR office. I think we actually have another spot, and if they can work remotely, we put them in an office slot. So, and I'd be glad to, on behalf of the court, be responsible for that person and send them to HR or auditor. I mean, that would help. Be glad to.
They won't be able to work remotely on the payroll paper, so not outside the building.
It's very,
They gotta be mobile,
well,
agile, hostile, mobile.
a lot of what they'll be doing is digging in payroll records and pulling that information. And so whoever's there has to, I mean, I don't know the right word, it's a highly confidential position that limited access to.
And when's the end date for this temporary position? Do we know that?
Take us to 2 seconds.
Well, it's at the discretion, I guess, of the court. I would like to have,
COVID goes away.
I would like to have somebody in here now, and I don't see this person being here forever. I just see this person helping us get through the initial part of this grant, CRF funds.
Comments? Because we do have a motion and second to move forward with the,
When was it,
go ahead, Stephen.
do we know when the end date or the end time would be? Is it temporary? Do we have any idea when the ending time would be?
Probably shortly
Or
after
any
the election.
election?
Yeah,
Yeah, by November the 4th.
Mike's prognosticating the end of all evil.
I foresee it actually, I mean, if we're not gonna start initiating funds until around December, I would say that it would be December the 31st.
That's what the grant is.
And that's when the grant is.
And so
It's reasonable.
I feel like we're just walking around the bush here and not really picking up the fruit. So you want the person or under the court or in, I mean, where do you want the person housed?
Ideally, I would like the person in my office.
In your, okay, that's. what
However, I need to
say.
get that done is what I need.
I mean, I'm just asking, it seems like we're trying to decide where we're gonna put the person and who's gonna be in charge of it. If whoever it is.
Well, we need a liaison to represent the court, to work for her, under her, with her, through her, around her. It ultimately is accountable back to the court. I just wanted to offer that I'll be willing to be the supervisor, even though they may be working, sitting in her office, going through stuff.
I can be the supervisor. I mean, I think that's initially what I'm after. I just don't know all the logistics of the payment's gonna come out of COVID CRF funds. I don't know. I guess I really don't understand why it has to be under the court.
Well, you said,
I say it
you
because
said I'm
if
asking for a
necessary.
position to be under the court if necessary, but
If necessary.
housed out of the office.
I did, but I did that under the instruction that maybe that was the way it needed to be there. So, if I could get this person in my office without having to ask somebody for permission to use this person all the time, then that would be ideally what I would like.
So, total control of the person in the position and the activity.
Pretty much, yes, that's exactly what I'd like, simply because of the confidential information that they'll be in charge of.
So this is all COVID related work, right? That they're working on?
Correct.
Correct. Probably wouldn't hurt, honestly, gentlemen, we're gonna have to sign off on this documentation just for checks and balances to have one of us just to be on top of this. And since I'm next door, if it's convenient, again, I'll be glad to work with Jackie and Leanne in, I don't know what the title would be, because the supervisor is what she's asking for. She wants to be the supervisor, whatever that overseer would be.
What about Bud? He's the one that brought this motion or the agenda.
I'll do it.
And he
I'll let
is
you do overseer.
What about you, Stephen?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, Well,
Well, I think that, I know Martin had made mention that it's too early, but I think if we're going to be handling this stuff, it'd be better to have somebody at the start of it that knows what's going on, instead of waiting a couple years later. If it's going to be paid by COVID money, then I don't see a point in waiting.
My only thought on that, Stephen, was if I'm gonna sign off on this, probably wouldn't be a bad idea, whoever's gonna sign off on it, maybe to have a participation in this.
The buck is already in the committee, so it would make,
I know.
I was under the impression that there wasn't any administration money associated with, CARES Act.
that's a big part of it, actually, and it falls into the 75% of it. And that's a quick way to get schools to their 25% where they can do the connectivity.
We have to spend ours first
Mhm.
before the schools, that's what it said.
I thought it was for mitigation, not administration.
There's extra payroll, there's part of it in there, I can find that for you. Of course, I didn't bring any of that with me, but it's there.
Okay, so what do we want to do? Gentlemen, is it appropriate that we table this? Because it seems like there's a few ideas that are real uncertain at this point. Would that help? And have a conversation and bring it back? Because we're not over
We're
timeline.
going to have to have a conversation either in court or in a workshop, one of the two.
Well, let's move forward. Let's talk.
Could we possibly, if I show you that it's, or if I cannot find where the funds pay for what I'm asking for, then we can put a clause in there that it's null and void, that it was useless effort.
That's what I was gonna say. I could reword the motion to say that pending that all of it would be covered under the code for administration. If not, then it'll be.
Cost of the county, wouldn't it? Because if this person starts this week or whatever, we're still gonna have an exposure and a liability.
The second I walk out of here, I'll find out, and
That's
then
what I was saying.
we won't utilize anybody.
What information you can provide. It's picked up the old. When would we be able to meet again to vote on it? It'd be a couple of weeks.
Unless we want to call it special.
We could call a special meeting on that. If it's covered under the grant, I wouldn't have a problem with it, but we need to know that it's covered, the administration. Not the definition.
To answer Martin's question, on the frequently asked questions, number 39, it says, may fund payments be used for expenditures related to administration of payments by a state, territory, local, or tribal government? And the answer is yes. If the administration expenses represent an increase over previously a budgeted amount and are limited to what is necessary. For example, a state may expand fund payments on necessary administrative expenses incurred with respect to a new grant program established to disperse amounts received from the fund. So if this position is to work towards disbursement of funds, then that can be covered under the grant.
Everybody hear that?
Yes.
Okay.
So we just need to vote on it now, right? So why delay it?
So, just a clarification.
How much we don't pay this person?
Well, my mind is, what we pay every other part-time person, anywhere $14, $15 an hour.
$30 a week.
Whatever the 29,
29 hours a week.
So it'll be a full part-time position is what it'll be.
temporary.
or up to 29 hours, but they're gonna have to document that they're working on
Yes.
COVID stuff, be able to document, because that's what this position is, be far on the grant or the payroll rate or whatever it is.
Yes,
You're not gonna be able to do what they normally do. It's gonna be COVID only, according to that. What I hear from Jacob is they're doing a function that would not normally be done under the payroll or HR.
correct.
They're gonna have to prove it.
Yes, sir, Martin.
Yes.
I can
And
prove
it
it.
might not be that they work 29.
And then they not.
I mean, you're saying maybe they could work 10, 15,
They do it depending on what's
what
happening.
you need doing at
Exactly.
that moment. So it's not necessarily a full-time, part-time. I mean, it might be a day when you don't have to have them at all.
Correct.
I mean, is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay.
Did everybody hear that?
Yeah, I would say up to a maximum of 29 hours a week, whether that's 0 hours or 29.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we have a motion and a second and lots of conversation.
The only thing that whatever the motion says, it needs to put in there who's gonna be signing off on the sheet, whether it's you or Buck or whoever it is. So there's no question later, we got the matter of court record.
Did everybody hear that, what Jackie said?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Who's gonna be responsible for signing off on it? On the verification of the hours and the pay?
I don't know why Leanne couldn't if she's gonna be the one over it. But she's an official, but does it need to be a member of the court? Do we feel like?
Well, I mean, that was her suggestion and probably wouldn't.
Yeah, I think it would, if it's under the court, it's a position that's not there normally, and we would be the ones answering for that, and not the HR or the treasurer's office, so it would be under our control.
Okay, we got an offer on the table.
You volunteered, didn't you?
I volunteered, we got an offer and then we got a suggestion. What's the pleasure?
Frank made a motion,
He
he
did,
needs to address it.
and it does have a second.
No, I made the motion.
Oh, no, it's Buck that made the votes,
And Mike seconded.
and Mike seconded.
So what do you think, Buck? You wanna be one sign off?
I mean, I will. I mean, if that's what the court wants. I mean, I made the motion.
Well, this is awkward. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. Hopefully, we can work all together and get it done. So, but it'd be
Let me
great.
sign. I'll sign.
Judge, whatever you want to do.
Okay, so Buck's now volunteered. All right? So we do have the motion.
Ask the question, Judge.
Please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Martin? Still with us?
Okay,
Nay? Okay.
yeah.
So we have 3 in favor and 1 nay. Motion carries. That takes us to item N, and Leanne, you've got that also.
Oh, Lord.
Purchase thermal scanners.
Well, part of the CARES Act,
I'm sorry. I didn't think of that. Okay, so when you said 3, that's Stephen, Mike, Buck, Martin, no.
Martin, nay.
Do you want,
I'm saying.
you want to abstain? Got it? And do y'all want me to add the, $14 to $15 an hour up to 29 hours? Was, Buck, were you adding that to your motion?
Sure.
Did y'all hear that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The hourly rate plus the maximum allocation per week. All righty. Okay. Thermal scanners, are y'all ready for that? Leanne?
okay. So part of the getting all of this information together for the report that I gave to you earlier was trying to figure out the things that we could possibly need. And one of the consensus amongst all the other offices and officials was that we needed some sort of, disinfectant system or the thermometers or however that could be. And most of everybody realizes that this is not gonna be something that's over in a week or two. It's something we're gonna probably be dealing with for a while. And so, a lot of the, other companies and courthouses and different areas, they're actually going with the thermal scanners so that you don't have to have somebody at the front door scanning you. I mean, I feel like I'm speeding every time they shoot me in the forehead with that thing. And so, there's thermal scanners that also, double as, metal detectors. You don't necessarily have to be a metal detector, but about the same price, so why wouldn't you? And then, a lot of the offices, the different county offices would like to have the Emis machines that go in their, office to clean at night. So you spray it at night, put the, solution, you put that in there, and then the next morning it's all disinfected and life is good. So those are in there, and, I think I included in my email to y'all the cost of those things.
Okay, so
I didn't get the email.
you can get the email.
What's the call?
The cost is, Lynn, go ahead.
Thermal scanner, 3347 each. And they're asking for 6 of them at $33,948.
There you go.
Great.
That answer that question.
They're $3,700 a piece, and then there's a cheaper one that's about $3,200. So it's up to, whoever's over that building or the official, which one they want, or if they even want that, so. But I would like to
So
have,
we're gonna need somebody to man these machines.
no, sir,
Just gonna walk through.
they walk through them and it registers, there's a lot of information about it. Obviously, before we bought them, we would, get bids, would we have to get bids or anything like that, Jackie, or do we just buy them? But we have the reps come out and kind of train, I guess, on how they work and the logistics of all of it. And, but that is the whole point, is that we're not having to take one person out of your office to stand there and shoot you with the thermometer.
So when they go off, do
So
they
what stops them from coming in when they have a beeper?
Well, depends on the policy of the office or the thing. I think the biggest issue is that you're inches away from somebody that, is coming in the courthouse or coming in the tax office or clerk's office or wherever. I mean, if you're just inches and you're taking their temperature, your exposure is greater versus somebody standing behind the counter. The beeper goes off. I mean, I know at Donice's office, I'm not speaking for Donice, I'm just saying at her office, there's always somebody at the counter, and if the beeper goes off, well, she's gonna send them out. So that beeper go off.
Okay. So the question before the court, needing a motion, is purchase thermal scanners for each county building expense out of CRF monies. So it's just apparently for each building at this point.
The thermal things are, but the emissions are for everybody's office.
Okay, but we were only,
Two different line items, yeah.
okay. But on item N, it's just the thermal scanners again, for each county building. Chair will
Oh, I
wait
see, I'm
a
sorry.
motion.
how much are they?
The $3,700
You want how many?
one for each building, which is 16, which 16 areas,
So that's a total of what?
30, students and 33,948.
For all of them?
So it'd be 16 at 3772 for $60,352.
I think that. I'm not sure my math is right in there.
$60,352 is what was in the email.
It says something about 33,000.
16 times 3 is 48,000.
Yeah, that's right. $60,000.
This is out of the care grant money.
Again, the 75% side of it.
Reimbursement.
Yes, sir.
So we'll have a 25% share, is that correct?
No, sir, it's 75% of all of that.
Okay.
That is 75 cents, 75% expense.
Okay.
Public health.
75%.
But then 75% of the money we spend has to be for
Correct.
COVID
But
mitigation.
it falls under that
But
75.
thermal scavenger is COVID mitigation.
Yes.
So for every dollar we spend, 75 cents of that has to go there. When we can spend the whole amount, counted as public health mitigation of COVID, but they give you 25% of it when they not spend on public health on what you spend. The way I understand it.
Okay. Chair waits a motion. I'm sorry?
I just heard Jeremy motion.
Who made the motion?
I thought you did.
No. I said the chair waits a motion.
Okay, I didn't hear the way. Next motion.
So moved.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second for the purchase of thermal scanners?
I'll say it.
Mike has the second. Comments or questions?
Who made the motion?
I did.
When will we get reimbursed?
When we
Spend the money.
when we start
It's
to,
a reimbursement rate. Yes, we spent the money.
and
We've
we,
already got 179,000 in the bank.
So the reimbursement starts once the 20 is spent.
Or we'll have to send it back.
Jacob brought up a point of clarification. Once the current amount that we've been automatically allocated, once we spend that, then it goes to reimbursement. So the 179 that's currently in the bank,
You have to spend that first.
spend that first, and then everything else is reimbursement past it. So we have a motion with a second. Further comments? Hearing none. All in favor, aye.
No,
Okay, there's 3 ayes and 1 no. Chair abstains. Item O is the purchase of the Emis machines and solutions for each county office expensed out of the CRF monies. Okay. Lynn, you want to give that a shot?
that's the same concept. Each office would get one of these e-misters, and be able to, kind of do their own disinfecting every afternoon or every evening when they leave. And it would help,
Even if you weren't polled, you'd still be eligible for it. No?
help.
Yeah, you said in the memo that several officials that have been polled would like,
Well, I didn't call everybody, but,
but you're not exempt from it.
no.
Okay.
Well, it would help the maintenance department out too, because then they could disinfect their offices when they got ready to leave, set that mister, and it would miss the office and disinfect it without anybody having to come and do it.
Did everybody hear that?
And I did, Judge, to clarify, I make 22 entries of that. So,
Is that the number of offices?
yeah, I can, yes, sir.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so there is the question about purchasing Emis machines. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Mike. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Stephen. So there's a motion and second. Comments or questions?
Yeah, I have a comment. If
Okay,
we do purchase these machines, at a later time, we might need to hire people that run these machines, because there might still need to be some cleaning going on even after the mixing machines are put out, or additional cleaning, hands-on wiping. I'm not sure what the TCD recommends for that exactly. I've read a little bit on it, but I mean, we might even hire some temporary people for COVID mitigation of cleaning the offices, either under court or through banks or wherever they end up at. They could operate some of these machines. fill out there.
Okay.
That is copy.
Good comment. Any other comments? Okay. All in favor, aye? There's three. Any opposed?
Yeah, no.
Okay, one opposed, one abstaining. Item,
There's a kid in there, somebody don't need to.
say that again?
Um,
Okay. Item P is, let's see, Stephen, that's your item for TCDRS matching rate.
Yes, I talked to Ralph and he sent the information out, on the required rate. The rate that we're paying now on the retirement is above that required rate. Our elective rate that we're paying is above that. Right now, we're at 102% funded on our retirement. I bring this in the form of a motion to keep paying that elective rate that we're paying, seeing how we take a snapshot of the stock market or our investments in December. And so a lot has changed since December. And I'm concerned that next year we're going to be, we might be pretty low on what our rate will be. We might have to go up to the effective rate, I guess is what you call it. But I make a motion that we leave our matching rate where it's at as of today for 2021, which is above their required rate.
Okay.
second,
There's a motion with second. Comments or questions? All in favor, aye? Okay, and it's unanimous. Motion carries. Item Q is, Stephen, that's yours as well, and that's the emergency disaster relief fund requirements.
I'm gonna let Jackie speak to that.
Okay, Jackie?
On exactly how that needs to be handled,
That's, but
on how it's set up in the budget.
I just want to know from the court, is the court over that fund or the county judge? That's all I need to know.
Is the court over the fund or is the county judge? Has the county judge been embezzling any that we know of? Not yet. Not yet.
Is this fund 048, is that what we're 048?
Yes.
48,
Well, there's a lot of line items in that fund, and a lot of them have to do with the road and bridge side of that, repair and all of that, and also the public health and the county rebuilding or whatever it is. But my understanding is it's under the court to make the decision on the spend money out of there, not one member of the court or one member of the government.
Okay, so I think to Jackie's point,
I mean, it doesn't matter to me who it is, as long as I know officially, because I looked back in the records and I couldn't find where it said yes it was, and I couldn't find where it said no it wasn't. But I just want to make sure whoever's signing off on the bills has the authority to do so, or if I need to bring it to court. It doesn't matter, I just want a clarification from me.
what's the pleasure of the court?
Customarily,
I think it's, some of the items, some of our items are items that you have to do in emergency. Because, you know, you can't meet court all the time, so some of them should be with the, whoever's over those funds, or some of it should be with the court. So you have to look at each individual line item, I think.
Yeah, I think in a disaster, you could, at any kind of disaster, you could put a line item or amount of money or whatever into someone's authority to sign off on the invoices coming in. But I think it needs to go through the court to make that happen when there is an emergency declaration, you know, in effect, just when you could use money out of that fund through the court's appointment of whoever's going to be over that disaster part of it.
I don't know.
And there's a hush that has fallen across the room.
Yes.
I that was such a hard decision for you.
Ken is raising his hand. Is it okay if we hear a comment from him? Any objection?
Please.
Okay, it said please.
Well, it doesn't address the question at hand, and I hate to say that. But the one thing I would ask is, let the spending amount, and we may set that pretty good, because as an example, if we start pulling some triggers today and tomorrow for Thursday, trying to get 5 people together to approve of a purchase, and I understand there's monetary amounts that we're restricted by the rules, but, you know, if we need to drop some money to do something to get ready, whatever we can do, and again, I know that's,
Like
Just my
I said, it
thoughts on
doesn't
that.
matter to me.
oh,
I just need to know who has the authority to spend the money out of that. Is it the county judge ultimately responsible for it because he's emergency management director? Or is the court? It doesn't matter to me. I just need to know whose signature needs to be on those bills.
okay, well, it doesn't matter to me either. Just make it right, just the money that- so like-
Because if he has authority, that's fine and
Right.
good. At least I can tell my people, if this person signs these bills and turn them in to be paid out of that fund, it's okay. If not, then I can tell them, no, that has to come before court. Or if you want to add a certain amount that the county judge can sign off on before it has to come to court, it doesn't matter. I just want clarification so we don't have any misunderstandings or anything between my office and the judge's office.
I'll make a motion, we let the county judge, sign off on the disaster relief funds from the emergency disaster relief fund.
Okay, so there's a motion with Mike to have me to do it in behalf of the court. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Buck is seconding it. Comments or questions?
Well, I think there should be some restriction on this coming, restriction on when money you can spend out, and it only do emergency of the county. And probably needs to be a certain amount here in an emergency for that, which should be $20,000 or whatever we want to put it in. Just to have some, I don't know, check or balances or whatever on there. Judge can spend this much money on an emergency basis during an emergency on what he needed to, if not, it's called emergency. X amount, whatever it is, 20,000, we need to have an emergency to make that happen.
Is
I
there,
think it needs to be declared emergency, however.
During the
because,
declared
it may not, like, the hurricane is supposedly out there, I mean, that's not declared yet. Sometimes you gotta spend money before it's declared, or it may not even be declared, but you gotta spend that money. I have no problem with setting some kind of limit, of 20,000 or whatever like that, but I don't think we need to limit it, it has to be a declared emergency.
Then any judge can spend $20,000 on any item every day until the money's gone, because there's no restriction on when he can spend the money. He or she, not you, but the judge, or the person.
Yeah, but if they have to spend, get court approval for anything over 20,000.
Ken's got his hand up.
The judge,
Pretty quick.
If the judge is in charge, if the judge can declare a disaster, he feels the need to declare a disaster, then he can do that and spend the money that he needs to get ratified within 7 days if the disaster is still going on. But, the disaster declaration needs to be in effect, I would think, by the judge before the judge can spend money out of that account.
Well,
Ken has an
See
additional
it
comment.
on order.
and I don't disagree with what Commissioner Sturrock's saying. Here's the thing, most of the time, and I'm gonna say most and knock on wood, these are reimbursable monies under Cat B money. And they typically go back about 7 days from the date of the state declaration. So even if we didn't and we spent some money, they'll go back to 7 days prior to that date. That's pretty standard. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jack, that's pretty close. That if you spent money those first 7 days before it was declared with the state, He'll let you use that money to go into your cat feed fund.
Because isn't that considered preventative measures?
Yes, that would be, it
So
would be.
could you put it in there that's preventative measures, that he has the authority for preventative measures, if that's what y'all want?
I think that's great, and the amount of 20,000 had to get the court together, I can't speak for him if he's gonna sign signature, but I think that's an amount of money that if I had to get 20 loads of sand, which I'm gonna ask y'all for 11 loads of sand this afternoon, just telling, I'm giving you warning now, I'll warn you this weekend. So, you know, the cost of buying that sand, even though we're not declared yet, we're gonna get that this afternoon too. That covers that can't be money that is pretty much reimbursable every time. That's kind of the only category that we tend to see always what we put in for, under that mitigation and preparedness side.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm not asking it for to be a state declared emergency. I'm asking for whoever the county judge is to declare an emergency in Tyler County to spend out of the county, not anything to do with the governor or the state, but that way there's a document saying, hey, I'm declaring we're in an emergency, this is why I'm spending this money. You go from there.
Let me throw something at you that could happen. If we had a bad chemical spill, that might or might not be a declared emergency, even for the county.
Tornado.
Or a tornado, that probably would make it, but say it's a small one. We might not declare a disaster because it doesn't meet the threshold, but we gotta need to spend $20,000, where 39 is our threshold technically. I think it's around 39,000. It makes us meet that
Well,
threshold.
that's to get reimbursed by the state, right, 39,000?
Yes,
Or before it's called. So this has nothing to do with the state, this is all county money. Not looking for reimbursement from the state. This is just being controlled internally in the county. Whether, it just doesn't matter if it's $10,000, you can still spend it out of there. You know, if we only spent $10,000, long as we had an emergency that the judge felt that there was an emergency that we needed to spend money on.
When a chemical spill, would that fall under the parameters of the emergency, countywide emergency?
That depends on the judge. That's totally the judge's call. The declaration of
I don't know that, Stephen, I don't know exactly what, I mean.
Yes, the judge makes that call. The judge makes that call, the court ratifies it within 7 days for it to continue. If the court doesn't ratify it, then that emergency declaration goes away after 168 hours, or once it's signed by the county judge. So, as long as we're under emergency declaration inside the county.
We could declare a car wreck out there on 69 an emergency.
The judge can, yes. The judge can do that, and whether we ratify it or not, then that's, but in order to spend $20,000 out of this account, there's gonna have to be an emergency going on that the judge feels is the declaration of emergency. And it might be over in 1 hour, and we not ever ratified, but we still had an emergency declaration of emergency, which opened up those funds.
And I think it was called the Emergency Disaster Relief Fund. Is that right?
Yes.
And to Stephen's point, I mean, if it's an emergency, if it's a disaster, whether it's local or regional or statewide or national, relief, and if I could address this may help, probably because what Jackie's just wanting to know is
I just want to know
who's got the authority side, because whenever,
Out of that money.
when Ken and I were trying to figure out how to fund our 4% participation into this regional testing center down in Jefferson County, it was simply to try to get authority to plug in and be responsible for our contribution so that our citizens could have access to assist. And that's why we started looking at that and the various line items. It seemed like that applied. Of course, then Jackie came in and suggested that we make it COVID specific, which is very, very good, because obviously everything that we tie into that, especially from reimbursement. So we just had an account to be able to pull from is what we were looking for. And, obviously, everybody was kind of apart from each other at that point. So, we have a motion, we have a second. Jackie's just looking for some clarification on who's gonna sign off on these bills. There's been a suggestion about $20,000 as a limit that the judge would have authority to, and anything past that would be under court authorization. And that's really reasonable, guys, because if there's something that's an emergency, then we're probably gonna have to get together pretty quick, especially if it has a significant impact that's going to affect our county funding resources. So whoever made the suggestion, up to $20,000, based upon my personal experience.
Tell me what the motion is,
Okay, the motion,
what all in the motion?
well, let's see. Yeah, the action item was requirements for emergency disaster relief to authorize the county judge to expend up to $20,000 in behalf of, or to authorize the expenditure of up to $20,000 on a disaster event. Would that be it? Would that work?
Or,
Hey, Steve, get a little closer to the microphone. We're having trouble hearing you.
Okay.
Do you want to?
Only thing is, I would like to add, if the judge feels the need to spend $20,000, you should have the explain
Yeah, we're having a hard time hearing you, Steve. Sorry, man.
All right, hold on just a second.
Okay.
Is that better?
Yes, way better.
Okay. What I would like to see, and I think I made this clear, but I don't hear it in the motion, that the judge can spend up to the $20,000 for the emergency disaster, whatever fund item, but there needs to be a trigger mechanism for him to be able to spend that, because if you don't, then he can spend $20,000 multiple times on anything that the judge sees as he feels is an emergency. What I would like to see is an emergency declaration issued by the judge to open that account at the party. And the judge can do that on his own motion without the court or anyone. He can declare an emergency, which will open that fund up for the judge to use those funds.
Okay, so basically it's an amendment to the motion with the disaster declaration triggering the authority for the county judge to begin to disperse funds as needed up to $20,000. It is
correct.
Okay, so let's see. Mike says it sounds good. We do actually have a motion on the table with the second. With that amendment, Steve, with your recommendation for the amendment? Okay. So everybody know what we're doing?
Okay.
Donnice is going to get a clarification, y'all. Hang on.
Okay, so what I have is, can you hear me, Stephen?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so I have as the motion so far is, to motion, let's see, the requirements for emergency disaster relief fund is to authorize the county judge to expend up to $20,000 on a disaster event. And so what is the amendment is that the disaster event has to be a declared event. Is that
the way you want it, Steve?
Correct, yes, so declare the yes.
Okay. So the amendment to the motion was with the language of including a disaster declaration
by the county judge?
by the county judge.
So we're gonna vote on that one, or we're gonna do the
yes.
first one and then the amendment.
What's your pleasure, Commissioner?
I say put it all together.
Okay. All right, so the motion reads to include the amendment. It does have a second. Let's get a second with Stephen's amendment.
I second.
Okay, so Buck seconded it, and now we're ready for the vote. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'll join that one. Aye. 5, unanimous. Okay. Motion carries unanimously. Item R is the resignation of Constable Precinct 2, John Fuller, effective September 28th. He called me last week, guys, and he wants to do the same thing that Dale did and go ahead and move forward with his retirement. He wants to work through the 28th. So he says that he would like for us to accept his resignation through September 28th. And I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Second.
And there is a
I'll
second.
second it.
Thank you. There's a motion with second, and all in favor, aye. Okay.
Aye.
Now, this makes it official, Donnie. He has submitted his formal resignation to retire at the end of September 28th, 12 midnight.
Do you
Okay.
have Marshall or Steven second?
I second.
Mike seconded. Stephen, wait, quite quick. Stephen, get ready for the next one. Get ready for the next one, okay? I'm gonna pause long enough for you to. All right. Item S is the appointment of Casey Whitworth, Constable-elect Precinct 2, to fulfill the unexpired term of retiring Constable Precinct 2, John Fuller.
I'll make that motion.
And would you also say to take effect September 29th?
That's correct.
Okay. So at 12:01, he can take his motion. And Mike's got the second. Comments or questions? All in favor, aye. Any opposed or abstaining? Motion carries unanimous. Okay, gentlemen, we had a fun little event this morning. Found out a little bit more information that we could actually make an emergency amendment to our current agenda. We have done that. I misspelled Nawana. I put Nia-wana on there, so it should be Nawana, N-I-W-A-N-A. With that, I would like to ask Ken to speak to what he's been working on and why. Ken?
Under the CDC recommendation for sheltering right now, they're really against what they call congregate sheltering. That's put everybody in a building or room separated by 3 feet between cots and all that crap. So, sorry, not that stuff. So, it is what it is.
It's gonna get worse too.
Yes, sir. So, what they're pushing for is, and I'm gonna tear it like they did to me this morning, camps, campgrounds, and like this camp, not a overnight camper camp, but camps and universities are first choice, hotels are second choice, and then congregate sheltering is like last resort because you can't do anything else. I approached Camp Nuwana several months ago. They took it to their board, and I saw the guy last week, literally, or 2 weeks ago, and he said, by the way, our board approved going into this partnership if they don't want to. And I thought, okay, well, I'll get back with you. And then this happened. So literally, I gave it to the director yesterday. He signed it. We got it back. So we would have a camp, have a non-congregate shelter here within the county for us to put locals. This is not, we're not going to shelter people from all over. Now, I would say this from the heart of me, if somebody's stuck here, we're going to find a place to stay. But this is not going to be an open shelter for people to come from Beaumont and stay at Canyon One. This is for our local people that might have a tree in their house, can't get to their house due to flooding. So that's what this shelter is for. I also have been working with, side note, with another company. That's it.
All right, so that's the background on
Local emergencies.
going ahead and getting this.
Local emergencies.
And local folks even during this one, but yes, sir, yes.
To go ahead and get this in place so that, obviously, we got a pending storm out in the Gulf that's going to possibly be on us on Thursday at some point. So go ahead and take an action on that. Are we okay about that? If so, is there a motion? Okay, we got 3 motions on the table. Martin, we haven't given you credit for a motion yet. Mike said we're gonna give you, Stephen, we're gonna give you the second. Is that okay?
All right, thank you.
Okay. All right, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
And it's unanimous. Both you, okay. All right, gentlemen, that takes care of the agenda for today.
Need another motion.
Hey, Martin, have you got the last motion? Motion for adjournment?
Let's go.
Yes.
There is a motion for adjournment. And,
For a second.
all right. Thank you, Stephen. All in favor, aye. And motion carries.
Stay on the line.
Woo!
Stay on the line, guys. Stay on the line.
Stay on the line, everybody.
All right.
I'm gonna go ahead and sign all of this. Give it to you, Steve.
Y'all don't have a copy of Stephen and Martin, but I brought in 5 slides of the latest from the National Weather Service. Unless this thing changes, we're gonna have some wind, and potentially a lot of wind. Think Rita. Yeah, they're calling for hurricane force winds all the way up to equal to Lufkin on Louisiana side of the border, which puts us in a lot of wind. So think Rita, that's the best way I can compare it. And even the National Weather Service compares it that way. They're not calling for a lot of rain here. That's normally on the dirty side of the storm. We're on the clean side of the storm. We would still get rain, but as far as us just going crazy, like Harvey or Imelda, we're not going there. With that said, I have had a request from some businesses as well as individuals about sand. I would ask if y'all can, within your districts, precincts, put a load of sand in each fire department. They have the bags, they have the scoops. That keeps from having 100 people and that many cars sitting outside the EOC. We were able to get those to them a couple of years ago. And it worked well during the Melda. We did do this during the Melda last year. We all took some sand out there. I can tell you, Port Arthur has called for a voluntary evacuation as of 5 o'clock today. If this thing moves east at all, you could see them going to the contraflow. So just FYI for all of you in this room. We don't know what's going to happen, but I talked to Scott this morning with TxDOT and also with Josh Sim, DPS Trooper Sergeant, and they're prepared to contraflow, or not contraflow, open up the evacuation lanes going north out of Beaumont to Lubbock. So you can see traffic impact in Coneville, Fort Woodville, and all the way down into Warren and that area. So I'm better at answering questions than I am really just kind of blind information, but what questions do y'all might have?
Well, Ken, I know I'm not on the court, but
This is open.
if talking to Scott and Joshua, when would we be looking at contraflow?
That's up to, really, it's going to be the Jefferson County judge. If he calls for a mandatory evacuation, 69 is their main route. And
I mean, best guess Wednesday?
oh, I would say best guess tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Because they're not going to do it like, think Rita, they're going to do it early enough to not have the people dying in the road.
Okay.
And I mean that.
And they had people stranded on the
Yeah,
road.
they did. So you can see this happen, I think realistically tomorrow, if they're going to do it. If this thing moves farther east overnight, we're doing stuff for nothing, but that's okay. I'd rather do it for nothing than not do it. So, did one of y'all have a question, Martin or Stephen? I thought I heard somebody say something.
I just figured out whether it's gonna hit or not.
Okay, it is going to hit. I can't tell you where it's going to hit. Right now, if it stays the same, Thursday night, overnight, is when we'll get tropical storm and possibly hurricane force winds in this county. It's overnight, Wednesday into Thursday. That's the timing. The location is still kind of up in the air. Could it move farther west? Unfortunately, yes, which would be bad for us. Could it move farther east? It's bounced around a 200-mile area since Saturday, y'all. I mean, it's doing this. So we really don't know right now exactly, but we can't not do some stuff today and stuff. So
Kind of like a knuckleball.
yes, sir. Yeah, good analogy. Yeah, good analogy. Anything else, guys? Anybody in the room?
Ken?
Yes, ma'am.
One of my part-time students wants to, she said she always volunteers to fill out sandbags, and so I told her I would ask you,
Crazy.
where, yes.
Just saying. I'll get with you and let you know. She wanted to help with the city of Woodville. They're gonna set up at the city park. We're gonna put their sand in their bags and their scoops.
It's Caitlin,
One thing that I would say, go ahead.
City of Woodville Fire Department need sand.
Yes, sir. And they're gonna put it in the city park.
Okay,
Get with Bill to find out exactly where to drive.
okay, I will.
Okay, I just talked to Mike McCoy on that. The other thing, and this is to every official here and the ones that aren't here, think about what you're gonna do about your staff on Thursday and Friday, because it could be very bad. They could be without power Thursday morning. I'm gonna make the same kind of recommendation. Maybe the schools look tomorrow what they're gonna do Thursday and Friday. So, you close your offices, y'all be putting roads back together Thursday and Friday, I'm just gonna say. So, but as far as the other offices, we think about what you're gonna do with your staff. Ken's opinion on that, I'm not telling you what to do, on Thursday or Friday, so.
So you think it's gonna be a prolonged power outage event?
If it's like Rita, yes, and that's a bummer.
I had no power for 8 weeks.
I'm going to.
And I mean, I'm not trying to argue with you, but if we're talking about Beaumont turning on contraflow tomorrow, is Thursday and Friday enough?
Evacuate lanes, I don't know, and again, we don't control the schools. They won't, and I misspoke, I should not have said contraflow. They're gonna open the evacuate lanes where you have 2 lanes of traffic going north, not 4.
Okay,
So that's a,
gotcha.
they do. Traffic can still go south. You're just gonna open up that shoulder, basically, and allow for the evacuate lane. All right,
Thank you, Ken.
yes, sir.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right, we'll see y'all.
I'm gonna hang up now.
That's the longest court meeting I've
Get some marathon.
So we need to sign it.
But